we've got a really, I think, terrific group of experts assembled here. Hopefully we'll unlock some of the keys of what's going on in the online video market tonight. And I think, online video is such an important topic right now for a few key reasons. I think one, because it's actually been one of the few bright spots in the ad market in the current recessionary period. And secondly, also because it's pretty much a hot spot, a flashpoint, because so many of the issues around it highlight what's happening in terms of change in media. You have real issues between content companies, between distributors, digital pure plays, aggregators, and also very new opportunities for marketers to connect with consumers. So I'm sure we'll touch on all those issues tonight. But one of the things that I want to start with, and I think Jack is particularly well positioned to kick this off, is that things like what we just saw cost a lot of money. And one of the things is that where the fuel for a lot of media businesses is advertising. And how much, Jack, of the spending, and when we talk about online video and branded entertainment, where is that coming from? Is that incremental spending? Is that shifted from other medium? Can you give us a picture as to where the money's coming from?
Well, I'll try to give you a few different perspectives on where the business is today. A lot of advertisers are moving into branded entertainment in response to the opportunity for viral distribution and to capitalize on the online marketplace and the change in distribution. And it is expensive to create those kinds of productions and to extend the kinds of production quality that we see in network television and commercial, which can cost anywhere from $100,000 at a low end to a couple of million, as I'm sure this cost. So the reality is that online video, which is growing quickly, it's growing at about a 20% pace this year, which is a fraction of what was anticipated for the online video growth 3 or 4 years ago. So it is growing, but it's still a small portion, and it's coming from television for the most part. But television right now is draining dollars. Network television this year will lose about 15% of its revenues versus last year. Last year it lost about 10% of its revenues versus the year before. Next year it'll lose another 10%. Cable television is having some slow growth, but again, nowhere near the double-digit growth that the networks are looking for to fund continued development and expansion, to fund their extensions into mobile and into online. So they're looking at the opportunity for branded entertainment to perhaps pick up some of those losses. It's not going to happen in the traditional sense. I look at the business in a different way. When I use the term branded entertainment, I put the words brand and entertainment together, and as opposed to advertiser-funded content, I look at it as that the networks and the program producers, the studios, really have to reimagine the way they monetize their content brands.
Sarah, you work with some of the leading marketers out there, Pepsi, Hershey's, Home Depot, etc. Can you give us a feel for the kinds of deals that are being done and how they're coming together, where you have content creators, the various entertainment brands that Jack mentioned, the marketers? How are those different constituents coming together to create new kinds of marketing and media?
Yeah, sure. So I would say, 3 years ago, when our clients were looking to integrate their brand's messaging, the essence of their brand, trying to tap into those passion points of viewers, primarily in TV, is I think it really is where it started out. You were seeing brands coming together through the networks and trying to cut a deal where they got either product placement or they got integration into, say, one episode of The Bachelor or one episode of Extreme Home Makeover. And it was a one-off deal, very quick. It was typically done through the network. And to Jack's point about having to really the networks are having to reinvent themselves, and at the same time producers are as well. We're seeing much more openness and working with the production companies direct. And so while you're still going to be required to pay a media commitment, the networks still want to make money out of it, but you can also, in tandem, be working directly with the producers. So now instead of just doing a one-off integration, one-off partnership, you're seeing brands come to the table with the production companies from the very beginning, and you're building out the franchise. So something we just did with Quaker Top Chef, we announced a big challenge that was part of the Top Chef franchise. And from there, we launched a consumer promotion that lived online for a few months. And that consumer promotion ended with a big event, a kickoff event. It was a cook-off competition that also launched the Top Chef Tour. So you started with an episode that aired at the end of January. You ran a consumer promotion where avid Top Chef fans were intimately engaged with not only Top Chef as a brand, but Quaker as a brand as well. You take that over to, through a PR campaign where we engage with some of the top chefs at a very local level. And then the promotion ends with this big event that happened in New York. Hopefully some of you may have seen it. And that event also kicked off the Top Chef Tour that then traveled around to 20 different cities. So for Quaker, we were able to tap into those avid Top Chef fans from January through mid-June. So you've gone from a one-off type of integration in one episode to these larger 360 campaigns where you're really tapping into consumers at every single touch point you can imagine. And I think where it's going now, and what I'm seeing with a lot of my clients, is those same production companies that are working on shows like The Biggest Loser or like Ugly Betty, the top production companies in the industry, they are very open and very receptive to sitting at the table with brands because they know that they need brands in order to help fund their productions in the coming years. So we're now working with clients on, okay, what is that idea? What is that one message that you really want to get across? And let's sit down with a whole variety of production companies and let's come up with a TV show concept. And we're actually doing that with one of our clients now. So it's been really interesting how you go from a very one-off, very simple, you're totally breaking ground and getting your brand's messaging into Extreme Makeover Home Edition to now this larger 360 campaign, multiple consumer touch points, and to now where brands are essentially becoming producers in their own merit. And I think that's where you're going to see a lot of the development in the future. And it's not necessarily that they're all brands are clamoring to develop TV shows right now. I think that they're taking steps, and they're starting with the online video space because it is, it's very easy to produce online video and distribute that across multiple distribution channels.
Great. It seems like one of the benefits for both producers of entertainment or distributors of entertainment and the brands is that they can be much more in conversation with the audience.
Absolutely.
Amy, can you talk a bit about how that creates opportunities, particularly when you mix online video or branded entertainment with social media, and how different players are taking advantage of that?
Absolutely. Social media, I'm sure, as everyone aware here, is the next big, huge buzz term because in a lot of brands' eyes, they think it's free media. And there is some free media to it, but you have to use it well and you have to go in with a strategy. We at PhD represent a couple entertainment clients. So we represent HBO and Discovery and Travel Channel. So we see a flip side of what's going on, and we try and help our clients to leverage new media to connect with their audiences. So, for example, did anybody here see Discovery Shark Week? Hopefully we have some fans in the audience. For Shark Week, we were playing off the sentiment of fear. What's your worst fear about sharks is you're going to be eaten by one. That's your worst fear. So we decided to play up on that and really go for it with this year's Shark Week. And we created, we tapped into the power of social media and we created this branded experience that lived completely above and beyond any sort of Shark Week footage. It was a site called Frenzied Waters. And through the technology of Facebook Connect, you could go in and you could watch these like very almost, this is interesting that we watched that video, almost like Hitchcockian sort of intro videos that were like this girl, she's sitting on a raft, she's sort of like waving, like, hi, Mom. And then all of a sudden, boom, she's gone, she's been pulled down underwater, that's all you see. So then you click to your own video, And that's where it pulls all of your information from Facebook Connect. And all of a sudden, I get to watch my own obituary. And it's got all these pictures from my life. And here's what I did for a living. And oh, aren't we sad that Amy's gone? It was a quite powerful sort of like, whoa, moment. And you know, and we helped to really fuel that by first reaching out to a couple key, really influential bloggers. And all they received was a jar. And in that jar was like a shred of a bathing suit with maybe a little mock blood on it, and like an old key fob that had a bite out of it, and their actual obituary. So that kind of like they started talking about it, and then it just caught on, and a lot of people, we had tremendous success in terms of people that actually engaged with it. And it was a way to really connect audiences with Shark Week in a way that they hadn't quite connected with it before. Ratings were the highest they've been for this 25-year franchise, which was, you know, it's tough kind of reinventing the wheel year after year. And I'd also like to give a nod to, you know, we're so laser focused on branded entertainment. There's a broader way to look at that, though, and I would encourage you to look at it in terms of branded content, because entertainment is a bucket of content, but then there's also education, there's also utility. So brands can and should be connecting with their audiences and creating content that maybe is purely educational, or maybe it's purely utilitarian. Maybe it's just some tools to help facilitate consumers' lives through this brand. So that's kind of another way that we're helping to guide our clients down that path, is to look at it from a broader perspective. You know, my team is in charge of fusing brand content technology. So we're really laser focused on how can we leverage new media, how can we leverage social media, mobile, et cetera, to really help to connect brands and consumers at all different touch points of their media day.